Science and technology and innovation, these are indispensable in the modern economy, in the modern world.
We held a meeting at the MSI, and we resolved among about 6 to 8 of us, local members, first to form PAASE Philippines so that we could continue to host meetings here, but also to go on a massive campaign to try to get support from the national government through the legislative and executive branches to invest more in science and technology. So it started with a white paper, a position paper that we co-authored among 6 of us, namely Ernie Pernia, Cesar Saloma, Rador Asansa, Toby Dairita Fateneo, and Aldin Colaba de la Sala, and myself.
So PAASE historically, in the past 10, 20 years for sure, have been collaborating with our counterparts here in the Philippines at various universities. And a lot of these interactions probably started as peer-to-peer. But thankfully, we have the Department of Science and Technology here in the Philippines, and they've come up with some really helpful and very impactful programs that actually enable PAASE members that are based in the United States and other parts of the world to actually come here and do extensive research and academic partnerships and collaborations.
Well, I think that one of the good things that PAASE is doing is really trying to stay in touch with the researchers and the scientists here in the Philippines. So I think that is one of the good programs that they keep on supporting some of the initiatives of our researchers and scientists here in the country, trying to align also their assistance towards the plans of the Philippine government.
It's very important that the PAASE members and scientists based in the Philippines are continuously in contact, so we will know the needs of the Filipinos and opportunities that Filipinos can have to do science with their PAASE counterparts. So these interactions, such as the conference that we're holding and the annual conferences that we have.
The Philippines and the scientists there have very unique perspective that adds to discoveries and inventions, advancing in general the field.
These members, because they are part of an academy, it implies that they are productive. So they have publications, they have innovations, they have inventions, patents, and they have, they have an impact on society. Okay, so these are the people who can convince government, invest more in science and technology, and that was really the gist of our paper, our position paper in 2000. And it is Ernie Pernia who said that R&D by nature is expensive and it is a public good. So it is important for the government to take the lead in investing in R&D.
To increase the economic growth potential of the country, we cannot continue to just rely on traditional inputs into production as capital and labor. We also need to develop our expertise in science and technology and innovation so that we can come up with new systems, new ways of doing things.
I think that science, researchers, industry, and even the government is really like an ecosystem of knowledge. So I think it doesn't really matter if you're coming from a private institution or a public institution, such as a state university. I think we all have a role to play to improve the research capabilities and scientific knowledge here in the country. I think it is about time for us to realize that one of our roles as academics, as researchers, as scientists, is to actually contribute to that global body of knowledge.
And the role of this cooperation among these government agencies really is to be able to attract science and technology, global-based companies to set up shop here. And that is really key in terms of developing the science and technology innovation ecosystem in the country.
Particularly because there's that deep desire. And what PAASE does and can do more of is to promote this relationship between its members.
We really need to ratchet up the appreciation, the recognition of the importance of science and technology and innovation.
And we are all trying to attain what we call the common good, the greater, higher, long-term good of the Filipino people.
Good evening, everyone. Good morning to everyone in the Philippines. Magandang umaga, Alvin. Magandang umaga po. This is Mario Santo Domingo, the President of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering. We are happy to welcome everyone, our esteemed participants, distinguished member of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, which is sponsoring this series of Fireside Chats. So this is really very exciting. And PAASE is was more than willing to agree to sponsor this series of 3 Fireside Chats featuring the 7 members of the National Innovation Council. Today we are honored to have with us some of the visionary minds in the science and technology innovation ecosystem in the Philippines. They are, of course, the newly appointed members of the Executive Committee of the National Innovation Council under the National Economic and Development Authority. So innovation is the driving force behind progress. And as we gather here, we acknowledge the significance of fostering a culture of creativity and transformative ideas. So this Fireside Chat po is a unique opportunity to shed light on the critical Philippine innovation priorities and issues, and to gain valuable insights from our esteemed discussants. Throughout this engaging dialogue, we will explore the key sectors that demand innovation's focus, the challenges that lie ahead, and the strategies devised by the National Innovation Council to propel our nation forward. So let us be inspired by what we will be hearing today. Of course, I would like to thank my co-moderator, Dr. Alvin Kulaba, for graciously agreeing to co-moderate this morning's session. So, Alvin, maybe we can start by introducing just like a few ideas relative to the National Innovation Council. We can show the slide.
Thank you very much, Mario. A warm and dry morning here in the Philippines or in Metro Manila. It's been a wet week for everyone. But nonetheless, we also have a bright spot that we are looking here in our fireside chat this morning. So good morning here in the Philippines, good evening somewhere or in the US and other parts of the world. Yeah, we are really fortunate and honored to have our distinguished members, the new appointed members as executive committee, members of the National Innovation Council. And indeed, this particular body is, chaired no less than the President of the Philippines, currently President Ferdinand Marcos, Jr. A 25-member policy advisory body is also co-chaired by the Secretary General of NEDA, or the Secretary of Social Planning Department. And 3 of the executive members are with us today, who are our actually colleagues and really good friends. And I think this will bring more excitement in this discussion this morning. Let me introduce, these people who are, as Mario's mentioned, distinguished in their disciplines. Next slide, please. Yeah. The first one is, of course, our dear PAASE stalwart, Gisela P. Concepcion, a multi-awarded scientist. He has been, the forefront of science, technology, and innovation advocacy and work, in the Philippines. And I think there's not much to really, introduce, this lady, or our strong, advocate. She's an academician of the National Academy of Science and Technology, a fellow of the Third World Academy of Sciences, again, a multi-awarded scientist, an academic, excellent, S&T leader. She actually represents the scientific community as an executive member of the National Innovation Council. So, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Emeritus Gisela P. Concepcion. Giselle, can you open your camera, please? Anyway, I know she's there. Next member of the National Innovation Council is also an academic, but an entrepreneur at the same time, as she is the president and CEO of Polite Technologies Incorporated. He's a materials, engineer, a patent agent, multi-awarded as well in her various research and development projects. She's an inventor. She's also an academic. She has, many accolades to her actually name. And we are pleased that she has been appointed as an executive member of the National Innovation Council, also a representative of the scientific community. Currently the director of Center for Entrepreneurship at the National University. Let us welcome Dr. Ria Liza C. Canlas. Ria. Okay, anyway, our third distinguished speaker for this morning is one of the seventh member, no, of the National Innovation Council, executive member. It was reserved to a prominent and distinguished climate scientist. And I think the government did not disappoint us with this appointment as the seventh member, executive member of the National Innovation Council. A professor and a UP scientist, 3 at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He's a renowned expert, primarily in watershed management and climate change adaptation, a member of the IPCC, you know, that actually won the Nobel Prize, you know, for peace. And of course, he's also an academician of the National Academy of Science and Technology. Let us welcome our climate change scientist and sector representative at the National Innovation Council, a former Chancellor of UP Los Baños, academician Dr. Rex Victor Cruz. Okay.
Thank you
So
very
I
much,
think,
Alvin.
Mario, we are ready for our conversation on this topic of the challenges and issues that face, you know, innovation in this country. And there could be no better personalities to enlighten us other than our 3 executive members of the National Innovation Council. Mario?
Salamat, Alvin. So now we will be calling on Dr. Gisela Concepcion. Giselle.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
can you place it in full screen?
Yes. Now,
Giselle, please.
sorry, you know, it's been I don't know, my laptop hung a while ago, so I'm sorry that I could not speak right away. Thank you very much, President
Good.
Mario. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
Giselle.
Loud and clear.
Sorry, I was in
Okay.
the panic earlier, but thank you so much, Akad, and well, dear friends, Alvin and Mario. And I am happy to be here to share with our stakeholders in PAASE and outside PAASE from the scientific community uh, information on the National Innovation Council. We had a meeting yesterday with the Secretariat and with the Undersecretary, Rose Dillon, who was our guest also at APAMS last June. And I took my oath under Secretary R.C. Balisacan, and we had a chance to chat with him. I'm happy to share this forum with my co-NIC executive members, Ria Canlas and Rex Victor Cruz. So as you might know, the NIC is a 25-member council, and I think there are 7 executive members. Well, I think Rex still has to take his oath. And then there are the department secretaries. And as Alvin said, is chaired by the president and co-chaired by the NEDA secretary. And the meetings are quarterly. And it looks like it's the president who would like to chair these meetings each time. And we are told to contribute our inputs in preparation for these meetings at least a month before. So we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, to consult you and at the same time to share with you what we think we might want to do in the NIC, representing the private sector. Okay, because the rest of the NIC are from government, and now we are part of the private sector. In my case, as a retired professor. So you will see here the functions of the NIC, and this is found in the National Innovation Act, okay, of 11293. And I just like to focus on what we think we can do at this point, having been appointed only recently. And this National Innovation Act had been promulgated from the time of President Duterte. And we'd like to recognize also the contributions of our Professor Emeritus, former NEDA Secretary Ernie Pernia, for pushing the National Innovation Act. But in Congress, it looks like the champion was Senator Lauren Legarda. So, you know that these first two functions have already been, they've already produced results. This is in the National Innovation Agenda and Strategy document, which is in its close to final form, close to approval. Okay? Now, we were told yesterday that the EMs, executive members, can help with policy. And if we can contribute to, say, the formulation of executive orders, then that would be good. And perhaps later that would be the basis for more laws relating to innovation. So policy making is one area where we can contribute directly. Now, there's a little bit of concern that if we are into policy, then are we also allowed to get engaged, involved in implementation? So in the fifth function, you'll see coordination of sectors. And among us, we already indicated that we would like to coordinate not only at the national level, but also at the regional and local level. So if our participants today are from various regions, then it would be good to hear your comments and suggestions. Okay, then and there is a monitoring function for the implementation of the policies. And then here on the right side, I think is one area where we can really make impact. And this is in the administering of the innovation fund, which is supposed to be a revolving fund. And some of you may know that there's already the first wording, and more awardees were from government. Okay, so those who are trying to innovate their operations, they received the award, and I understand only 2 SUCs received this grant in the first round. But then there was a second round, and I know that some of you submitted, and we are waiting for the results. But we have not been involved in this, and we are asking how it is that we can improve the administration of this innovation fund. Okay, and then of course, we have to monitor how the funded projects and programs are being implemented. And then, we think that we can also submit position papers, as I did yesterday, as a gift to the secretary, for my oath taking. So this is the cover of the NIASD. It's almost like the Bible, so it's now a 10-year vision. And to come up with a draft, looks like many stakeholders were consulted, organizations, scientific, business organizations, as well as government offices. And this is the framework that has been finalized, and at the heart of innovation governance for a dynamic innovation ecosystem would be entrepreneurship, and how well it relates to scientific exploration and product development. Okay, so innovation in essence requires a step of commercialization. So innovation for commercialization, R&D, commercialized, um, R&D becomes innovation when it is commercialized. So I think what's important here would be to look at the innovation enablers. And I think these enablers would require what we call actors, or the people, the warm bodies that would move the enabling factors, no? Okay, or components. So we are the governing body, and then as I said, we are supposed to be engaged in policy, and then infrastructure is not one of our direct responsibilities. Then the innovation programs is something that we should be able to monitor based on the funding that we provided. And then some of us are from the business sector, and uh, we are advised to promote public-private partnerships. So the participation of those of us in the EM who are linked with big businesses, including IT and other areas of development and business, are going to be very active in this enabling factor. You were asking about the innovation priorities, priority areas, and this is actually in the website of the NIC, and it's comprehensive. I won't read this out anymore. If there are other priority areas that you could think of that would not be covered by these, then I would be happy to hear your comments, suggestions. And myself, I asked about S&T human capital development because I think most or all of you know that that is my lifelong advocacy. And this is from the NIASD. That's what we call the document. And it's linked to Ambition 2040. And it's just a synthesis of what I showed in the previous slides. Now, in my case, I prepared a proposal, and this was a scheme of how I would integrate the priority areas, because I understand that this administration's priority is actually focused on agriculture and food security in the context of climate change, and investments in innovations in these areas should result in an improvement of GDP per capita. And I would say we would monitor GDP per capita in the poorest sectors, the fisheries and the farmers sectors. Now, but then if you were to invest in food and health or security, and I would like to use the word engineering, because engineering brings you closer to innovation and commercialization. Okay, from the deep science, you move to engineering, and then that would then make it, higher scale and more sustainable, and therefore more attractive for commercialization. But then to move food and health productivity and security forward, you need an investment in the fundamental sciences of energy and electronics, and then move that to the engineering phase. And also materials, new materials, composite materials included, and of course mining. And to be honest, I just asked who in UP Diliman Engineering is an expert on nickel extraction and purification. So nickel is a green metal together with cobalt, and we need this for our batteries. And it looks like there's no one who's got hands-on experience in this. Okay. Then, of course, we have to address the new technologies, the new enabling technologies of AI and GPT chat, and use this for ICT and to create and to strengthen the value chains. But then over and above, overarching would be governance, education and training and governance of government and also the private workforce. Tying up all of this would be social innovation and transformation. This is where we would have to address climate change and environmental sustainability for all the projects and priorities of the NIC. Okay, and the ideal goal result would be to come up with a circular social economy that could be anchored on local ecotourism. All right, I would like to just to address some of our concerns. I got some tips from Mario and Alvin on what might be our concerns, and I know it. There's now this executive order or policy on ease of doing business. Okay, and there's the Green Lane Act, but in R&D and then value chain innovation commercialization, it looks like we do not have ease in doing this kind of business. Although the president at Isona mentioned the new procurement law that will be formulated, hopefully passed soon. Okay. Well, I've also gotten feedback about difficulty of applying for postgraduate studies and short-term training from the DOST and other agencies or even universities. Then for the NIC grant, we would like to solicit and guide our scientific community in the submission of these grants. And then to support this, innovation ecosystem, I think that organizing region-wide and nationwide innovation competitions with awards would be a good way to bring out those who are ready to compete with others, the high-level innovators, the medium-level innovators, or even, you might say we call them low-level, but they're also important level innovators. So we're thinking, or I am thinking along these lines. And so at this point, I'd like to thank you, and I would like to consult our stakeholders. Salamat po.
Thank you, Giselle. Thank you very much. It just actually opens up, many ideas, about how we can move forward innovation, in this country. And perhaps, Mario, we can call on Ria to share her thoughts also as an executive member of the NIC. Dr. Canlas, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Apologies, a while ago, my computer froze. I'd like to share my screen for a while. Let me know if you can hear the audio. I'm just sharing a video.
We can hear you, but
Loud and clear.
now it's playing.
Sustainability in the construction industry. Our guest for today is leading a company that aims to promote eco-friendly construction through innovative materials and products. Ria Canlas is the woman behind pole light technology incorporated.
I wanted to make an impact by solving real problems. Malasakit is not just a branding, but it's actually the way of operation of Polite. It's very important no, na ngayon we have good design in the Philippines. Ako hindi ko na-realize na I'm doing good design pala. I optimize my products so that it becomes available and affordable to socialized housing. When you use polite blocks, you already eliminate plastering, painting. There's less processes involved in the use of my materials. Yung tibay nandoon, malasakit, safe ka na nakatira ka sa bahay mo. Ang good design also extends beyond its usability. So you're saving the future generation. Technology innovation and design innovation are both keys to economic progress. Then we combine them both. There will now be no need to trade beauty with cost or cost with strength.
All right, so Giselle had already discussed some of the few points of the National Innovation Council. Part of the law, Republic Act 11293, is that one of the executive member must be a woman, and we're glad that Giselle and I are here to represent also the voice of the women in the NIC. And by the way, to have this voice of women is very important because biologically how we have all these hurdles and challenges as we move forward to our rounds of innovation. And I would like to dwell on technopreneurship as one of the things that we have to focus on to if we want really to have inclusive development or economic development. Um, in my journey, I just would like to share a bit of how this journey started and what is the raw experience of an innovator. This is a person that was able to uh, bridge the road between research and commercialization. So just encompassingly a women entrepreneurship journey based on my personal experience. So there are roads and these roads are becoming, exciting as we grow older or as we mature, but the road becomes steeper as we wanted to reach a particular part of our innovation journey. And thus, as it becomes steeper, there's a big gravity that pulls us down or the challenges and issues that we face along the way. That's why some of the innovators are simply put on graveyard. And they say that they're even in the patent databases, we know that only a small portion, like 5 to 7% of those that are protected are really in the commercial market. And thus we wanted to, be the best that we could fulfill our lives through innovation. And this innovation path is a combination of various factors such as our own inborn talents, our skills, the degree, which of course made us solve problems that are related to the industry where we belong, our licenses to give us a teeth or to give us the edge on solving a particular technical problem, more certifications in the future, and of course, at a particular point of time, we wanted to know how to form our startup. Some of the questions that we raise on our minds is that what comes first? Is it the startup team or the product that we wanted to commercialize? Whatever comes first, there's no problem because as long as you are persistent to move forward, there's no problem for you trudging that innovation path. We need angels. And these are based on my personal experience, by the way. So this is how I move on my route. I met angels along the way, and angels are typically friends and families who trust innovators only based on the person, not on the product. Or angels are people who trust us even if there's no yet or of there's no yet proof of success on your technology. It also makes sense to have industry partners who will help the scientists to give some resources so that we can actually do a prototype of our ideas. We need grants because grants are, not loan. They are money, good money that are given to us to perfect our ideas. We need pilot projects. And in fact, having a pilot project really is also a very big deal in the Philippines because most of the clients or adopters really don't want to be the first user. Specifically, if they'll be using their resources and they don't have any, you don't show them any track record. So therefore, angels are most likely to be agreeing to use your project first. We need mentors along the way. These mentors help me perfect the technology, specifically teaching me a lot of methodologies on how I could really improve, convert my prototype into commercial grade one. Technology adopters, postgraduates, and of course recognition. And in the first when we were introduced, you give get a glimpse of what recognitions we have, but recognition is just not just about getting the award. Recognition is a way of knowing that your technology really is one that can compete in the market. That's the reason why um there's a need for startup to join competition, to join pitches, to get traction or validation of their technology. Moving, of course, the advocacy, because social enterprise is one reason why we need to be going into that innovation journey. The advocacy that we want to live at, so that we make an impact in the industry where we belong. And again, there are still things that I wanted to achieve in my innovation route, and these are really steeper roads, no? Like getting big investors. Where is Philippines investor friendly? Where are these people, or where is this funds that will help us have these big manufacturing facilities? We need global presence. How can we be adaptive to other countries if the Philippine projects or government projects are not adopting our products? And of course, we need unicorns. Unicorns are startup that has a valuation of $1 billion, and we wanted to see unicorns that arose from the MSMEs, philanthropy, and of course, a legacy. I would like to move on with issues and priorities that are based on my 30 years experience and on my over 12 years of exposure in the innovation arena. So these are some of the gaps that I have observed. First, in the academic, schools too unlikely to invest in startup infrastructure and resources. I could see schools that, trying to merge research and innovation, where in fact we know that these two are different animals. The track of trainings, capacity buildings are very much different, and therefore schools must have their hubs, must at least have some facilities that can make their students play around with their ideas. There are also scarce innovation mindset mentors inside the classroom. How can a non-startup teach startups to become good entrepreneurs by the way? So we need this um, entrepreneurship mindset concepts mixed with those people that are more of teaching employee mindsets. There is, of course, a big difficulty of how scientists to cross over the border from laboratories to entrepreneurship. And we could see a lot of scientists having multi-million of funding coming from both national and foreign funds. But at the end of the day, their main objective is to craft their exit plan. Or we don't even see an ROI on the investments on all of those researches that they did. there is a lack of collaboration. Practically, players like academe and industry and intellectual property knowledge, of course, is not yet that popular when it comes to students. This resulted to most of our projects just kept inside the library. In fact, they're talking of thesis. These are a bunch of where we can get mines or gold mines, but they're just there. And that I even told the students, you are lucky if at least one person got interested and read your manuscript. I was nominated by the inventors group. There are only about less than 20 inventors organization in the Philippines, and there are closely 2,000 members of these organizations, and sadly most of these members are on their prime of their lives. No, I barely see young people, young blood joining this inventors group. These inventors group are very different from how we scientists operate. They are more of practical solvers. These guys are not are less structured than those of the scientists. Therefore, there is also a need for these inventors to really mix with scientists. Their obstacle is mainly on partnerships, on research and development, and of course the funds. For now, of all our government agencies, we could see the TAPI, the OST TAPI, as the sole organization or the sole government unit that supports inventors. And TAPI is operating only within NCR or Manila in particular. So therefore, our members of the inventors group that are in Mindanao and the Visayas really need to go to Manila literally so that they could avail, inquire uh, uh, all of the support that are given to inventors. In terms of support, we know that there is an inferior branding of Filipino invented products. Why? Because we are not adopted by the local market or industry sector. The Philippines is quite a reverse of what is happening in the US, because we know in the US, the universities are the knowledge generator, and thus industries rely much of the research coming from the university. But in the Philippines, that's not the case. No? Most of our industries really do not trust those researches that were done in most universities. When it comes to funding, we know that the process is very complex, very long. In fact, I am a DOST assisted startup, and it took years, no, for me to lobby, a year to work on the documents before I could get my grant. And it is highly competitive because that we know that there is a limited allocation for grants. So my agenda is simply addressing this by addressing economic progress that will leverage into intersectoral engagement through science, technology, engineering, the assimilation of the creatives, culture, and the arts. Whether we like it or not, technologies that are beautiful, that have a good design, or we know this design-based technologies, would really be helping a lot in the commercialization of our products. In fact, when it comes to economic progress, we wanted to dwell with not just the STEM, but the STEAM, putting the assimilation of arts within the context of innovation. Intersectoral engagement is very needed, and in fact, multi-government units engagement are also important. This is one of the main reasons why NIC was created. There is a disintegration, or there are we need to harmonize this integrated or overlapping initiatives of various institutions and agencies. There is a need to enhance science and technology agenda to build this very sustainable startup ecosystem, which is the main reason why NIC is here. How sustainable is our startup ecosystem? In fact, we wanted to see this ecosystem to be really available to everyone who wanted to become, or anyone who want to trudge the innovation route or path. We want to enhance programs that support commercialization of research outputs. Those in the cabinets have to be there, reaching their supposed target market. We want to engender entrepreneurial mindset, embed entrepreneurship as part of our maybe major some professional subjects. Thesis and technopreneurship should marry all together. Implement data-driven approaches for policy development because we simply lack data. And that's what me and Gisela are really working on. How can we come up with all of this data, see how many startups do we have in the Philippines, how many become successful, and so on and so forth. So in the AI era that we have right now, data is, of course, the new oil. So these are some of the priorities that, if given the chance on our 3-year stint as an NIC, these are the things that I wanted to address. Number one is to have a very enticing incentive program for all the scientists, inventors, and entrepreneurs, university adopters, and university. Well, of course, we have the Bureau of Investment trying to say that there are a lot of lineup of incentives to startups that we want to to improve this further so that it becomes very enticing when everybody have to join the bandwagon. We want to create an investors marketplace where everyone has equal opportunity to funding because we don't know where to find them, in fact. Also, if we institutionalize the way we put a network of investors, then this is the way of protecting our scientists who are not really good at negotiating, especially on financial matters. This is protecting scientists against capitalism. Me, I have been dealing with a lot of investors for the last years, and it makes me prone to capitalism because they thought we are just inventors. They have the money, we have the technology, and for these investors, as they said, we still have the money. We need protection. We want to craft the simplest grant endowment processes, the ease of doing business, and of course, a very simple accreditation processes for new technology. Like for instance, how many of the processes are there that accredits new materials? In my case, if it's a construction material, we have the ITEC, we have the Bureau of Research Standards set by the DPWH, depending on what are the application of your materials. The OSD assisting on all of the testing, but how easy was it to apply? How many years does it took for us to have this accreditation? We want to review and impose a Procurement Act, and there is already stipulated in the Procurement Act on the exemption from bidding of any projects using Filipino invention, but is this really being implemented? And part of the zona of our President PBBM last week is really to come ask the Congress to come up with a new Procurement Act. We want to require banks to accept intellectual property as an intangible collateral for loans, create the mandates of not just CSR, but simply specifying corporate entrepreneurship responsibility, where we could see big companies supporting the small ones. And one of the biggest challenges is really to make a network with all the local government units. And I've heard from the time of President Duterte, there was this institution or the creation in every LGU of a unit called Investment and Promotion Center. And thus the NIC wants to communicate with them, and this from Investment and Promotion Center must work with universities, inventors groups, scientist groups to have the priority investment allocations, to provide innovation hubs, and of course to collect data that will help us really track emerging industries and to track the state of the status of all the products and processes that they offer in their particular area or geographic location. So I'm looking at the Bible and wanted to have this advocacy, help the Filipino people. Sabi doon sa Revelation 21:5, Jesus said, "Behold, I make all things." And one of the things that I want also to push is to start the design thinking. Introduce design thinking as early as elementary and high school level. So thank you very much. And with innovation, this is the only way that we could be competitive.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you very much for that very inspiring, you know, journey of yours, no? As an engineer, entrepreneur. Yes, Mario?
Yes, and now we will call on Dr. Rex Cruz, former Chancellor of UPLB, and a representative from the climate change sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mara, for the introduction, and Alvin. It's my pleasure to be here. Just like what Giselle mentioned a while ago, I'm not yet an official member of the NIC. I'm still waiting for my formal appointment papers and to get sworn in by any competent authority, be it Secretary or USEC of NEDA. But wow, how do I add to the very enlightening and passionate presentations of Giselle and Ria? You have there the overview as well as the details already of what NIC must focus its attention to, and I don't have any presentation to make, not because I'm not yet official member of NIC, but because lately I've had a lot of concerns to attend to all at the same time. But I have written down here my random notes, and I hope you will allow me to read some of them. It's random, but I believe that these are areas where NIC can focus its energy, in the next 3 years, and a lot of this will be a reiteration of what Giselle and Ria already mentioned in their presentation. So these are the thematic areas that I believe NIC can focus on. And let me begin with the benchmarking, or the benchmarking for the monitoring that Giselle actually mentioned, as part of the activities or mandate of NIC, and I think monitoring is going to be a big part of the NIC job, simply because we don't want to just keep on investing, on innovation without really knowing how much it contributes and impacts on the achievement of our goals and targets in each of the 10 priority areas that that were identified. And I think that is going to be very important. We need a benchmark study on this. What in terms of what policies there are, and the rate of innovative knowledge and technology development, generation, diffusion, and adoption. And we can do this. Benchmarking study by thematic or priority areas, and then looking at also how these different innovations actually contributed to or impact the achievement of, again, as I said, the economic development and environmental protection goals related to each of the 10 priority areas. And I think I'd like to mention here that based on Giselle's visualization, we see there how intricately interconnected the 10 priority areas are, And I think when we think of an innovation program for the Philippines, we have to keep in mind that these 10 priority areas are interconnected, and it may well be, we may be guided, may well be guided by shepherding innovations, that will serve as bridges or interfaces, between and among these different priority areas, and how innovation can actually help achieve, the targets for each of these priority areas. In much the same way as we know, SDGs are interconnected, that there are, that there is an interdependence, on the achievement of each of the SDGs, and that tells us how we must approach to address the needs to achieve the different sustainable development goals. And then let me also mention the important role, that NIC can play in terms of stimulating the industry and the academic and research institution partnerships. I think Ria mentioned about how important it will be, to promote the interactions between private sector or the industry sector and the research and academic sector. There will be a challenge, on how the priorities of the industry and how the priorities of the academic and research institutions, can be aligned. And I think there is still a lot of work that we need, to make sure that these priority trusts of the private sector and the universities and research institutions, we need to make sure that they are aligned much better. And then we need to also stimulate talent development, more talent development, retention, and how we can maximize the expertise that we have now. And I think Ria presented a case, where talents can be developed and that they can actually contribute to the development of innovation, given the right enabling conditions, and mechanisms. So we need to make sure how we can actually develop the required talents, that will support the achievement of the targets for each of the priority areas, and then stimulate greater research spending. And this is always, what we are saying from the academe and research institutions. But we have to couple that, with programs, that will improve technology diffusion and adoption. I think that is a criticism, of many of the researches done in the university, that they end up in the cabinets, as Ria mentioned, and if that is the case, how can we build how can we make the argument that we need more funds to do research, and hence, it has to be, at the research communities, the academia, must have this enabling, in order for them to be able to push the results of their researches, be it in knowledge or technology, to be diffused and to be disseminated and to be actually adopted, and make the concrete contributions, for the investments arising from the investments in research. And we also we can also focus on the alignment of innovation needs by industry, local communities, and academic and public sector. I am bringing in there the community needs, and I think when we think of innovation, it is important for us to think of what the local community needs, and this is something that we need to focus on, because what is good for the industry may not necessarily be good for the local communities. And I think innovation, will have to make sure that both the industry and the local communities are served, by our innovation program. I came across with this study, about how EU, has been generating innovation technology, and based on their study, most of the industry sector are actually dependent more on their own research, and on their own networks, of suppliers and partners, but not so much, reliance on research done by universities, and research institutions. And I think this has to, we need to we need to build an environment, where the industry sector will rely more on the universities, and research institutions for knowledge, information that they need, for technology that they will need. This is, I don't know how to do it, but there is a need, I think, to make sure that the demand, for the research outputs and products of the universities and research institutions, can be increased, from the side of the industry sector. And so, concerning the policies that was mentioned by Gisela as an important part of our mandate, there is a specific example that I'd like to point out here, as important in moving, the innovation systems in the Philippines. And this includes, policies that, as I mentioned, that will promote industry, public university research institutions. And I'm glad Ria mentioned about the procurement process. I've had so many disappointments, with the constraints of the existing procurement process, that we're not able to do our research on time, and we're not able to deliver the quality of outputs that we desire, simply because we are delayed and constrained by the tedious process, of procurement. And I think that has to change. And I think I mentioned that in my vision, when they asked me about that, as they considered me for the last, slot for the executive member of the NIC. And then we need policies actually to increase interactions among actors. And Ria mentioned about this, that there should be interactions of researchers, from the university and the private sector. Joint research projects is going to be an important. It's going to be important in generating innovations. Promoting researcher, being able, researcher from the university and research institution being able to take part in or being engaged in the private sector. It's a challenge now, especially from the public universities, how researchers can actually be engaged, substantially in a private sector activities, but that is something that probably, we can focus on. How can we facilitate that public university researchers are able to freely, participate in the industry sector innovation activities? And then we need to increase the innovative capacity of public universities, and research institutions, as well as of the industry sector. And for the private, for the university and research institutions, we need to improve their capacity to mobilize resources, and to be able to forge, partnerships with the private sector, and be able to move, to be able to move the research results, from just being published to being actually used, for development of technologies or for the improvement of existing products and services. Because I am supposed to represent climate change sector, let me just mention some few points about innovations on or the role of innovations in climate change in the Philippines. If we look at climate change in the Philippines, the adaptation and mitigation targets of the Philippines are actually constrained by three important factors. This includes inadequate availability and access to usable information, that are needed for more robust climate change adaptation and mitigation planning. And then second, we have to also mention about the institutional weaknesses. And I'd like to point out here, weaknesses related to policy making and implementation, most of which are not adequately driven by science and evidences, empirical evidences, and then weaknesses in development planning, from the local all the way to the national level. I think a lot of the planning processes that we do are done in isolation from each other, meaning it's done on a very sectoral basis, and this is not going to help. I think a lot of discussions have been made that the siloed planning process and implementation, that we have does not really help in promoting climate change adaptation, because climate change vulnerability is a factor of the many weaknesses of the different sectors, combined together. And if that is the case, then we need to be able to come up with policies and plans on climate change adaptations that are intersectoral. And then third is, of course, the lack of expertise of actors, from the local government units, most especially who are at the forefront of developing or formulating actions against climate change. Now, the question is, how do we use science and technology to address these different barriers and constraints? And I think that's what we can do to the other 10 priority areas. We can identify what the barriers are that are currently encumbering, the achievement of these targets of these different priority areas, and then see how science and technology innovation can actually help address these barriers to the achievement of targets of the 10 priority areas. So I think I'll end up there. I know I have many random thoughts that does not really cohere so much, but I hope it contributes to our discussion. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Rex. I think we are now excited, to hear from our audience. We already probably captured a lot of dimensions on the priorities and issues that we are confronted with here in the Philippines as far as innovation is concerned. Mario, is there any?
Yes. Actually, I received a question from one of our audience, from Professor Ralph Turingan from the Florida Institute of Technology, who was asking who among the NIC. So maybe we should clarify the role of NIC also, in this regard. Who among the NIC would one innovator contact regarding each of the priority areas mentioned or listed? For example, Professor Turingan is interested in the blue economy and water priority area. As a practitioner in fisheries and aquaculture, who should he contact among the NIC to make inquiries about this blue economy vision program of the NIC? Sino pang pwede sumagot? Yes, Dr. Concepcion.
Hello, Ralph. Nice of you to join us. You could contact me and Rex. Okay, because you might know that I'm in the marine field. Then, of course, climate change and the environmental sustainability are important in your fisheries or aquaculture projects. So I look forward to hearing from you.
So in relation to yes, salamat po. In relation to Ralph's question, because in PAASE we have several members of the international community of scientists, professors, academics, scientists from all over the globe. So one question I have is how does the NIC, how does it plan to pursue collaboration with international partners and perhaps learn from global best practices in driving innovation and technology adaptation. Uh, anyone can proffer a response?
Well,
No.
if Rex and Ria won't reply, then I will. And I have to.
Something, Gisela.
Yes, Ria first, please. Ria.
Please, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, before I answer that international collaboration, I'd like to say mention a bit of the previous question. Um, the NIASD, by the way, is an overview of what we wanted to happen in the next 10 years. But
Mm.
according to NEDA, they'll be putting in board or consulting with champions related to each of the 10 priority areas. And with the champions, they will be drafting the specific plan of action together with an NIC on how we can really achieve our 10-year plan. With regards to foreign collaboration, there's a move also for the NIC, for the executive members to do benchmarking on existing NICs in other countries. And I think it was also discussed yesterday, Gisela, right? That there's a move for us really to work with them, ask them how they do it so that we can apply it in our country.
Thank you.
In connection with that, we were also told that we could get involved in technical working groups, right, Ria? So then in the technical working groups, we could look for the experts among our scientists and entrepreneurs. And I think for each project, the environmental sustainability is important. So Rex's expertise will be required for every priority. So if there is, for example, a project that is submitted for funding, there will have to be a checklist that would include whether it is environmentally sustainable or not. So those will have to be addressed. We're thinking that we would like to input into the way the innovation grants are administered. So maybe we will take a look at the guidelines for those grants. It's not very big amount of money, and we are told it's a revolving fund. But also in connection with collaborations, Mario, I think in my gift proposal to the secretary, it's really centered on collaborations or massive training of our young talents at the postgraduate level in foreign labs, and also concurrently the establishment of a group of researchers, of world-class researchers in the Philippines along the lines along the priority areas I mentioned earlier, which would be on food security and in the context of climate change for poverty alleviation. This scheme that I proposed from myself in my proposal.
Thank you, Giselle. Thank you, Ria. Alvin?
Yeah, I don't see any questions, so perhaps I would like to throw this question to our three colleagues here. You mentioned the NIC meeting quarterly. The fact that the president himself, as Giselle mentioned, wants to chair this meeting every time, no? As members of the executive, of this council, do you ever talk among yourselves, the seven of you, and push for a very specific agenda that you want the president, of course, the executive, the other members, represented in the NIC, would really push for? I admire, like Ria's very specific priorities, the issues that were already mentioned earlier. They're just too much. Ria, you went through it. Giselle, Rex, there's no time to do any more analysis. I think all the NIC members, the executive members have been brought to the council with your vast experience for the longest time. Now, if I'm the president, give me one, you guys, 7 of you, give me now what we should be doing to ensure that we get the best and then, the immediate result from innovation. So we cannot, we don't have already the luxury at the time, I suppose, to analyze things, to benchmark. I'm not supportive of that, Ria. Benchmarking, everyone has been benchmarked. We have done that so many times. There is nothing new more we can learn from all over the world of what innovation. We know that. I think the work now is how to get it done. We know the framework, we know the ecosystem, we know everything, but I'm the president. Tell me what we should be doing in the next quarter. I want to hear in the next 3 months from the executive member. So what will this be? Giselle, Ria, and Rex. I'm just challenging your ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, Alvin, thank you for that. Yeah, I understand for the point. No, we, the executive members, have attended the first ever meeting with the president last June 30, and we saw his passion. He didn't want to pass on the chairmanship to any other, no, kasi he can pass it on to either his executive assistant or to NEDA secretary, but he's there. Now, there are a few of things that were discussed during that time, particularly on how the laws or policies were being implemented, so that to hasten the process of innovation. That was said from the mouth of the president. Now, in my case, I know that 3 years is a short of time. I'm observing in my technology alone, for instance, housing. I went to the DPWH. I went to DSUD, Department of Human Settlement and Urban Development, not part of the NIC. And I'm seeing how are these players are really interacting and using innovation in this infrastructure. So for me, as I've been telling my fellow EMs, if I am a startup, I myself, as an NIC, a startup, and will not be able to make it big in the startup space that I'm doing, practically no one else can. So in other words, at a particular point in time, and we see things are not moving, it's about time for us to do our manifesto, put on agenda how we can hasten this process. Observation first on the Ganawan, observation first on how these people are doing. And by the way, we are a 25-member council. Only 7 are from the private sector. And in terms of 1:1 voting, we could sense that still in the voting, the private sector will be outnumbered by the government. No? But of course, we will practically, I see that executive members are so aggressive. We'll put on agenda. We will put on agenda the things that we wanted to push and see how we really could see at least successful startups in this battlefield.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you. Great.
Rex.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, I agree with Ria. In general, personally, if I'm asked, I would recommend review of the policy landscape and see where the weaknesses are in terms of creating an enabling condition for innovation to happen in the Philippines. We have mentioned a lot of policy constraints, and I think that's one of the first things that can be done. It's not going to be an easy task, but I think if we want to make policy reforms, we have to start doing that, as a first step.
So I'll answer quickly. Then I know I see raised hands of Tito and Billy. So quickly on the short term, first, the EMs are meeting and chatting regularly, and we're asking NEDA to give us space, a room where we can meet weekly or twice a month. Okay, and yesterday, Ria, we were not able to get their commitment on the schedule. Okay, so we are actually interacting very well, and we look forward to Rex joining us, whether by Zoom or face to face. So my own immediate actions would be towards this ease of doing business of R&D innovation, as Rex and Ria described, the problems, the constraints, and don't I know it myself from my experience with my research and my own well, I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a startup, and I have this challenge of having to deal with a new layer of money makers. You might say they are the influencers, the social media. Okay, and sometimes they don't really promote, the accurate news about products, and they just want to endorse a product. So that's another party or player in this value chain from innovation to commercialization. But on the longer term, and I think many of us know this, I am really going to keep fighting for the creation of a critical mass of scientists and engineers who would be the seeds of innovation in research institutes. And I'll just tell you that in the NIASD, the documents cited are from the Global Innovation Index. We know very well the fact is GERD is 0.3% of GDP for the Philippines. Okay, very low. Others are 1%. And number of researchers per million population is 174. Okay, as opposed to Thailand, 1,700 plus per million population. And that explains significant progress in Thailand, say in their agri, livestock, and fisheries industries. Okay, so I think that I will just keep pushing this, but to draw out the innovators from all over the country, I would really like to pursue the competitions based on what's already out there, but also based on the innovation grants. So that's it.
Can I add something? This is sectoral representation, right? So there's a big role of the sector that we represent. The matter of fact is that if we wanted to push for our vision, as stated by NEDA, the sector that we represent should also be supporting us in a way. In other words, PAASE should be supporting Gisela's advocacy. Well, one of the things that the problem is that if the sector has the funds or the resources to push for the advocacies of the NICs, we all have our advocacies. And in my case, I already talked with the inventors group. Would you please try to have some funds so that you can help us reach the farthest that we could, so that we become ambassadors and ambassadors of innovation, especially dun sa laylayan ng lipunan. Okay, so the PAASE scientific group, all of the sectors should also be part of implementing all of these advocacies.
Thank you so much. We have actually raised hands from the audience. So, but before I call on Tito, let me just read a couple of comments on the chat box. What brilliant minds and recommendations the three members of NIC have. If their suggestions will be followed, more innovations will be seen in our country. Number two, wow, so inspiring, your sharing. Thank you very much and congratulations to our resource speakers. Tito, your question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mario. Thank you, Giselle. Thank you, Ria. Thank you, Rex, Alvin, Doc Billy. My question is that I'm referring to Giselle's slide 6. If you look at the framework, the center is entrepreneurship. And my feeling is that most of the breakthroughs are done in corporate R&D laboratories, not by individuals, or that individual who is housed in that laboratory. And I think this is where maybe a combination comes in. Like I think Ria's product, if you have that product, for instance, this is just
thinking with no box. If you brought that to a company that is involved in mass housing, they would help you breeze through. No, your idea will be there. You can have a patent, you can be paid, but that company will help you breeze through the prototyping, the certifying, etc., etc. And your product's there. It will carry the name Ria. Okay? So, but on the other hand, you are doing it by yourself. Then it takes you forever to get all of these things done. So what I'm saying is that there must be a way by which we can get industry involved right from the start. In other words, like what we are doing now in UP, we have a company that tells us what is your burning platform. We have a solution. Let's work together, come out. Now, the sharing of the, you might say, the benefits that will be done later on, but the product is there already. So again, it can be done. What I'm saying is that entrepreneurship may not be the middle. It's really corporate R&D labs or industry working together. I don't know how to put that in a framework, Giselle, but that's my opinion.
Thank you, Tito. Any comments from our panel?
Can I comment on that?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, Tito, thank you. Yeah, industry adapters are there in the first stages of our technology development. Without them, in my case, without my industry partner, I'll not be able to put it in the market because I know the formulation, but the industry helped me out in the manufacturing processes and also in the beautification, making my product into industry or commercial grade. But heavily on intellectual property, by the way, being a patent agent, my discourse is that, of course, we file patent. But because I am very serious about doing business and being a unicorn myself, I hope I could or I die. I prefer to have a trade secret protocol because a trade secret undisclosed information is also an intellectual property. In other words, I cannot outsource the manufacturing of my product because I own the trade secret of doing it myself. So yung pagluluto, kumbaga. Many of my patent colleagues do not agree with me. Some agree, but most tell me to file patent because you're the SC patent. Yes, I might be filing a patent on certain particular period, a certain parts, but we always be sure to reserve a trade secret within you. No, otherwise, while I am making it big in the Philippines, other parts of the world are already copying what I'm doing. But of course, in terms of corporation interacting with us, it's very important because as I have seen in the universities, most of the things they're doing are just successfully ugly prototypes. Not even that was adopted by the industry. And I agree, industry should play a part.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Giselle?
Yes, on two phases or levels. So in my case, for my startup, I also have trade secrets. I did not file patents. And I'm still working on trying to get to the market through social media, okay, without having a permanent face-to-face live store present. But then at some point, I will really try to propose this to the bigger industry. Okay? But then if I do not have the sales to show for it, then they will not give me a good compensation. And this brings me to the issue of intellectual property, Tito. So in most situations, the inventor wants to protect the intellectual property and get the right value for it. And oftentimes we know that the big industries are, you might say, sharky. They are sharks. I know it from experience in the past. Okay? And they will just try to get it for free. Okay, the inventions of the entrepreneurs, they will just try to get the information, even maybe behind your back, if they know you're into something. I've had that experience. Okay,
So that's a little tricky. The innovation framework that we showed you is not something we formulated. It's the National Innovation Council before we joined. So that's already there. And they really want to get the MSMEs, the entrepreneurs, at the heart of it so that it can be brought down, the benefits can be brought down to the level of the local communities. MSMEs are the largest business sector in the country, but they only account for, they said it's now 30% of our GDP. The 70% is accounted for by the top 50 corporations in the country. Okay, so there's still, lots of improvement there. Okay, now let me shift to intellectual property issues in the university. First, Tito, we are aware of enterprise, say in UPD engineering. Okay, that's like now 20-year-old endeavor led by Louis Season, PTBDO chair also. But then there are now reports that in some UPCUs, an inventor will not be allowed to form her company until she retires. Okay?
Talaga?
Yes. I'm sorry, I learned about it, UP Los Baños, and yet our charter does not say that that should be the case. And in this sector, it's in the agri sector, this inventor has other co-inventors or researchers in this institute in UP Los Baños who are much younger than her. And then, they're not allowed to form their startup companies. Anyway, that's one. The other is, I also learned in UP Diliman that there are some faculty who have formed their startups, but then they're also the CEOs of the startup company. But then a scientist cannot be a CEO or even a CFO because, they do not know how to be a CEO or a CFO. They can be a chief scientific officer. And someone here, I know, Vic Ilag has a lot of experience in this. Okay, so there are things that we need to address in regard to the relationship of R&D and then entrepreneurship, innovation, and entrepreneurship and then link them to big industries as an ultimate buyer in the future. Okay? But this is the other regime that is part of my proposal. And I'm not sure that it will sit well now because I just heard in the SONA that PBBM is recognizing intellectual property in a very traditional way. We don't know if this new IP regime that is followed in universities, say in Australia and even in research in the United States, will be allowed. And this is really the outright sale of intellectual property that our industries would love.
Correct.
And you just have to pitch your invention or your discovery or invention to be very valuable and with great potential for the university to get a revenue from intellectual property. So the way it happens, say, in an Australian university, and Vic would know this, is that, wow, they are really getting substantial revenues from their IP that they sell outright without attachments, strings attached, industries. And on that basis, they have good ROI, and therefore their government then funds more research. So imagine if DOST got this report of our revenues ROI in UP from the R&D and inventions in UP Los Baños or UP Diliman, then they would now give us more research money. Okay, so yun lang, kailangan our industries must be open to it, and we know very well that for biotech research, for example, our industries, our very wealthy community are averse, are risk averse. Kasi yung biotech, syempre, medyo mahirap i-assure
long
success.
gestation.
But on the other hand, longer gestation. Pero meron namang low, medium, and high-level biotech. Okay, so these are the issues that we are aware of. As Alvin said, alam na natin yan. Pero ngayon, how do we in the EM make an impact, no? And I'm telling you, I know you feel like, we have hope because we are EMs now in the NIC. But we have limitations. We're not allowed to speak at the NIC meeting in Malacanang. We are not.
Talaga.
Yeah. We have to put our, proposals in the agenda, and it should be submitted 1 month before the meeting. Patch move, hindi pwedeng galawin yon afterwards. So that's something that we're trying to maybe change a bit.
Can I add on the question of Nico?
Yes.
Okay, and then we have another question from Dr. Billy Caballon.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship should be in the middle. I believe in that, because without that, the inventors without the entrepreneurial heart will be a big failure. And that's why I enter into the startup as myself and not within the university, because I know how ease of doing business in universities are really very hard. And I think Gisela and all of Rex and all of the EMs should also look into policies, where we not just ease of doing business outside, but also the ease of doing business within the university. And but one of the best model that I have seen is one that's practiced by Adamson University, for instance, where they're in a startup company, they're allowed to have a startup company. 50% of their time is dedicated to being part of the university. 50% done for running the business, because we cannot let go of this startup. NUS, for instance, would not allow their inventors to leave the university because they need them. They need champions. So in other words, they still have to stay the university, but they should be given the time to mind their business.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, I'd like to tell everyone that Dr. Alvin Culaba excused himself because his daughter is graduating from the College of Medicine today. Congratulations, Alvin.
Congratulations, Alvin.
And it's very timely because Dr. Billy Caballon will be asking his question.
Oh, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to ask an inquiry. About 10 or 12 years ago, I proposed the 21st Century Medical Center for the University of the Philippines. When this topic of the Innovation Council came up and the opportunity for distinguished members of PAASE to participate, I thought that it would be the opportunity to bring up big ideas for which the country will have to lead. So 12 years ago, I read in Singapore that they would have to be the biomedical center of the world. They think that big. That is how they think. They're going to put away Europe, put away Japan, put away the United States. So this thinking of Filipinos, we Filipinos, we need to step up our thinking on how we are going to compete with the world and not just be reactive to what is happening. So I proposed 12 years ago, and this is a segue to Dr. Colaba's question as to what specific agenda, what should the President of the Philippines think about to make his country in the forefront of innovation? We're talking about the forefront of innovation. So Singapore thinks that they will be the biomedical center of the world. So I say, we Filipinos, why cannot we be the biomedical center of the world? So about 3 months ago, Dr. Baños, who is doing research there in Diliman on CRISPR. You know, Dr. Bagasbad, I think CRISPR should come to the Philippines. And she said, well, sir, the laboratories are not here. So why do I talk about CRISPR and the edge of technology? We Filipinos, the Innovation Council, I believe, and now this is now an editorial. Here we have the big thinkers in front of me. what should we propose to the President of the Philippines about what innovation the Philippines should get involved with. So I thought that this medical center in Diliman, well, you know, cancer is a killer. Today I just read that Moderna is working on a vaccine or a protein that will kill these cancer cells for melanoma. So I say it's a big deal. It's a big, big deal. But if we cannot think that big, we are not going to be in the major league in the Philippines. So in short, the Innovation Council, in my view, should bring up big ideas, competitive with Asia, the world, and it's a tough assignment. But I think that should be the idea behind the Innovation Council. By the way, the medical center in Diliman has the backing of NEDA, and to me, that would be the opportunity for the Philippines to get involved with CRISPR, personalized medicine, the invention of biomedical equipment. I see Tito here. They are involved with the respirator of Dr. Austria and another one. But you know what? The armed forces of the Philippines bought the respirator from Brazil instead of the invention that Dr. Austria, Enrique Austria, I don't know if he's present, but those are the things that we need to address. Dr. Canlas mentioned about, as I read her, these local inventions, which are as good as they can be, are not bought by the armed forces of the Philippines. I saw a respirator from a colonel, and then it's a respirator from Brazil and not the respirator being invented. So I just wanted to address my expectation of the Innovation Council and how it should be brought up to the attention of the President of the Philippines on how it should position the Philippines to be competitive with Asia or the world. So thank you for the opportunity for making the comment.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Dr.
Philip.
Abello. Thank you, Tito.
Thank you, Alvin.
Mario,
Congratulations.
can I read the question of Gladys here? Unless Gladys is here. Gladys, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
you might as well, say and ask your question that you have
Again,
written at least.
congratulations to Giselle and Ria and Sir Rex. So your talks were really very inspiring, and I love your passion, Ria. Okay, so I'd like to, again, because this really, I've been really, what is this? Passionate also about the procurement process here in the Philippines. So, and all of you mentioned about this. So that, and also BBM mentioned that during his sauna. But as the executive members of NIC, what do you think? Okay, should NIC, okay, do to help the government to tackle this problem on procurement? Although, of course, all of you know that this is a big problem, and how will you able to help our current government right now to make this procurement problem, to solve this procurement problem?
Hi, Gladys. Well, there will be a very big portion of lobbying on the part of the executive members. Well, we meet every quarter. the remaining days should be now the role of the EMs to talk with Congress, to talk with so many people out there doing the law itself. No? Because as I've mentioned a while ago, last June 30, the president himself mentioned about issues and problems related to how policies are being interpreted by different agencies so that innovators can avail of what they should be receiving in a shortest period of time. And I think that was one of the reasons why the president put in the SONA asking the Congress to do the new Procurement Act. So on our case yesterday, we're already lobbying with Secretary Balingasan about how we can lobby. That's the best that we can do so far. Okay, we will do, of course, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Mario, are there other questions?
Yeah, we have another question from our friend from TIP, Professor Well Pakunda. Do we have an online or virtual innovation hub where innovators all around the Philippines can meet, ideate anytime, so investors can also join the areas they are interested into? We may start focusing on the area where the majority of the investors are involved. Any response to that? Giselle, please unmute.
You're muted.
I want to tell you, Mario, that this is the first of a series of three fireside chats. And next time we could get Earl, Valencia, and Ojito Brahim to join us. And then afterwards, Tirso Ronquillo and Mark Garzaba. And they all have great networks. But in particular, I think Earl and Monchito can tell us about how we can create this innovation virtual space or ideation and design space. Yes. So please join us at our next two fireside chats. But may I just have a short response to Dr. Billy? So Dr. Billy, right now it's PGH Cancer Center that has been funded by the government. And the private sector has also invested in a cancer center. Ayala Health is building a cancer center in Nuvali. Okay, so I'm not sure about whether the cancer center in UP Diliman will push through. Okay, now in regard to big ideas, let me tell you that the proposal that I prepared, that I submitted to Secretary Balisacan is a kind of a big idea paper along the lines you're thinking of. But it's a focus on food. Food as a major factor for health and wellness. And CRISPR is an underlying technology, not just for medicine, not just for health. It's also used for agriculture. Okay, so it's got broad applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. May I call on Miss Grace Glenn Gabisay, because she has like 2 comments on the chat box. Would you like to
yes, sir.
talk about your yes.
Actually, last 3 days ago, I attended virtually the UNFSS Plus the Stock-Taking Moment in Rome, Italy, but that was virtual. So, and I've taken down notes about the Prime Minister of many countries. And then regarding this Council for Innovation, I can only speak on behalf of what I have observed so far and what are the bottlenecks, sir. So I guess in the food production aspect, because agriculture needs to be not an isolated issue. So it needs other discipline to help it become more visible or being practiced in terms for food sovereignty. So the last time, or there were groups of people who are, I'm in another am in the Slack group in Switzerland, and then when I research there, so they have high human resource development index because they provide an atmosphere for co-creation. So even if I'm from the Philippines, and then they are having a incubation for idea generation and how the problem can be solved. And also, the last 2 years ago, I applied for the Kaya program for the agriculture department on having a credit or loan grant for a project that is especially good for students in agriculture in a rural community. And so the problem is that if you're in a government service, you're not eligible to apply because you have to focus on the program. But I think partnership is a good answer for creating a more innovative atmosphere. And then if that's there will be limitation, there should be a hub, there should be a mentor above, so that it can become more successful. And that success stories, if that can be shared, that will inspire more other people, much more younger generation, to be to not seek for employment, but also to employ themselves. Especially there are a lot of youth in the Philippines, so they will not go to the cities, they will just improve their land. So I think that's my perspective, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do we have comments from our panel? That's a wonderful, statement from Miss Grace. Ria?
Yeah, Miss Grace, I agree with you. You are, I suspect that you are in the government side. That's why you're seeing that you are not allowed to do, to apply to engage in innovation. On our side, we are in the private sector. We are seeing that only government are allowed to have funding from, example, innovation fund. No? So therefore, I agree with you. Partnership is the key. For instance, for now, innovation fund from the NIC are only for government agencies. But we're pushing that in the next years, these innovation funds should be available to everyone, including the MSM. Now, what we do in the private level, we collaborate with SUCs, so that we have with the opportunity to have the funding. So I agree with you. Partnership is the key. And by the way, I think Gisela would agree with me that there is a plan for the NIC to put up the Philippine Innovation Center, right? If we will be not funded, then the NICs will put, the executive members will put all their networks and etc. to come up with this Philippine Innovation Center, so that the concerns of Grace and all the others would be addressed. Let's pray for that.
I'll add to that. Philippine Technology Innovation Center is really my proposal, but it's really heavy on the human resource requirement, and that is where the PAASE comes in. So we need warm bodies here. We need people who will train, our young talents like Grace, say in their foreign labs, and we would ensure the return and reintegration of these PhDs back in their regions. Okay, but the other component would be to actually create such a center here. Dr. Billy and biomedical concerns would be part of it. But in the scheme that I showed earlier, my scheme, it's integrated. And this is an idea that I have discussed with former NEDA Secretary Ernie Pernia. So back and forth, exchanges with him and one of our stalwarts, Dr. Gobet Advincula. Okay, so we are really thinking of how we can get whole research teams back to the Philippines. Why do I say this is the most critical, as Dr. Rex also said? Because we are only a very few, 170. We need to multiply the number of Dr. Rias, Dr. Rex, and Dr. Alvin, okay, to be able to get this innovation, ecosystem vibrant. And we cannot do it with 173 per million population. Okay, it goes without saying that the facilities will have to come with it. But what good is the infrastructure without what I call the superstructure? Now, let's not look at our country with such bleakness, because there are actually pockets of success or moderate success. And that is why through the innovation competitions, I think that we can draw out these models of success that others can follow or reiterate. And so I'm talking about whole of society approach. So the president now always talks about whole of nation, whole of society. Actually, when I listen to him speak in, well, first and second son, or even in the foreign speeches, it's like kind of I'm hearing myself. I mean, it's like we're hearing ourselves. He says the right things about science and technology and innovation. But where is investment in the human capital resources, S&T HCD? And in PAASE, we already prepared this proposal in 2006, from 0.15 of GDP for GERD, and then now it's 0.3. The UNESCO benchmark is 1%. Okay, so these are fundamental problems in our country. Now, if PAASE members abroad can help, well, it will be a major, but we need the warm bodies. We need more than words. We need young people, and I would say anybody 55 and below, 55 years old and below, come home for good. I mean, come home. Given the situation now, we want to promote innovation. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's just take the bold move and find ways to come home for good through the Balik Scientist Program, or through these new enabling terms that we would like to propose for our returnees. Exodus back to the Philippines. This is what other countries have done. Okay, and if we do not have the human resources, we will not be able to go up to the middle or the high income level status of our country.
Okay, thank you. Can I, Mario, can I just comment on the innovation grant? It's a huge amount. But if you can actually help Ria, Rex, Giselle, and of course, nandun din si Tirsono, to actually do this in a more deliberate purpose. Like, for example, if R&D funds from the OST are available to the universities, innovation grants should also be available at that level. But this is in another twist, because what that grant should do is to fund those who are near, who can now go for commercialization and with industry partner. But they do not have to compete. Guys, when it's an open, this is my experience, no? Open competition, that's a problem, because yes, you're trying to get the best idea, the best, but sometimes it dissipates, and the best ideas are not the ones getting the grant. But if you are more deliberate, like you have to trust the scientists and eventually become entrepreneurs. Ria, that's what you want, It's clear, like you, for example, and there are many RIAs, I suppose, in many universities. But if they are given a fund, an innovation grant, not from the OST, this one from the innovation grant, then let it be entrust that money, get it done in the next 6 months or 1 year. That should be not the innovation grant at the moment. It's an open, 23, there are hundreds, about 400 proposals, and 23 get them, and most they are, But I think it has to be more deliberate. The Innovation Council should be able to identify clearly, like what Dr. Earlier, Cabellion was mentioning. Let's be more deliberate. Focus. Kung sa biotech ito, anong biotech technology, ilagay mo yung innovation. Let it, Ria, your material. If you can get, I hope you can still access the funds, even if you are a member of NIC. You can just imagine if you are given like 50 million. 50 million is not much. Ria, bring this, with 50 million, bring this to the ASEAN region. Okay, you already have the part. I mean, it's a more deliberate, you don't compete. If Ria competes for innovation grant, there is likely that Ria, you will not be funded. And you know why. Okay, that's why the funds has to be deliberate. So you can have funds of the innovation grant, which should be deliberate, and one would be more open. Open, in other words, open it to anyone who would like to compete for your idea. But I think the grant should be more deliberate. Like, let's do this biomedical device, the CRISPR, let's do that. I'll give you 100 million. Do it. That's what I think that's what I'm actually want to see, in our government. It has to be deliberate. It has to be more, and then output oriented. Remember, the grants outside the country, the professors are given the liberty to choose. My professor is given something, how much funds, huge amount of fund. He can choose where to get his people. If they cannot get it from their own country, they will get it from others. After all, at the end of the day, it is the idea, it's the the result that is doesn't matter, because there are not many talents in the Philippines at the highest level. So somehow we need still to get expertise, as Giselle was mentioning, bring the best minds back to the Philippines, whether they're Filipinos or not. So I think that the innovation grant has to be two. What's this? One would be more open grant, the other one is more deliberate. And there's a huge amount. And I think we will get results, I'm sure.
So the word Mario uses is very intentional.
Yes, intentional.
So
That's
we
correct.
are trying
Intentional.
for me,
Get
that's
half of the funds of innovation grant, be intentional. And we know who are these people who can get it done.
First intervention point would be the innovation grants, Alvin. But it's not a big amount. First intervention point of PMs would be the innovation grants.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not so big. And it's not yet been released. So, and it will be a revolving fund because kailangan may ROI daw. Okay, so the situation is in the Philippines is right. We have a small pool of very high level experts to do the research. But on the other hand, competition is still important. Maybe two.
I think,
but to say yung attitude na, hindi na yan pwede kasi ginagawa na namin yan. Pero naggumagawa niyan. I don't believe in that. Competition is always important. You must be able to compare. It's how it's done in other countries, no? At least two groups to compete. Because you cannot say that it's only this group that has the capability. And sometimes the tendency is to choose exactly, the same group. They get all of this funding, hundreds of millions of pesos, we know that. And it's not even available to the private HEIs like the LSU. And because of that, they spread their efforts too thinly and they're not able to complete the research, no? So anything,
Giselle, that is precisely why you are there.
That's
and
why.
Rex and Ria and Tirso, because their thinking is the mindset is very much different from ours.
I know.
And that is where you are there. You have to influence those. The grant is there, but how it has to be managed and intended, that is your role. You have to be able to convince them.
Yeah, well, Alvin, it's not that simple. Because
I know.
Our powers are, they're limited. But anyway, we know very well there's got to be a cap. There's got to be priorities, call for these types of proposals, that type of proposals. So for me, it cannot be a single solo. You give a big chunk to one group. I think you have to prove yourself first. So the way it's done in the US is the small business innovation research grants. First is $100,000. The champion of this, of course, is Alsa Rafika, who has gone through the 2 tranches of SBIRs. And then if it's good, then you qualify for the second tranche, which is $750,000. And by the time you will be ready to show it to to the bigger companies. But this
Giselle,
yes.
Can I just interject? As Ria mentioned earlier in her first presentation, there are many researchers who have already got a huge grant, multi-million, and this is where you have to put in your innovation grant, because huge amount has already been invested, and you know very well that it has already you cannot put your money. And I know we in our science community, we know who have these big ideas, but just the same, I think it has to be more intentional, and there should be a portion of that. I'm not saying that the entire fund or but whatever model can be followed, what's the most important is we get results done in a very short period.
correct.
Because I know there are people who are already just only a few months before it can get to the world. So I think that is where the grant should go. Okay, that's my view.
We all have
Thank you.
experience with PAPI, you know, the largest granting agency was the DOST. So what we do, Rex and Ria, is to go to DOST and ask them to recommend alin ba dito ang right na for an innovation grant. Ibig sabihin, to the next phase. And I will also go to TDPDOs of UPCUs, right? UPCUs, TDPDOs. And then we can go to Adamson, we can go to Mapua, we can go, of course, to DLSU and UST. And we will ask your TTBDOs which are the right, technologies here, or MMSU, or SUCs. But there's nothing like being fair and square, and not really soliciting from these people that we know only, but have a good publicity for call for innovation grants that will draw out the ones that we don't know about. Okay, so wish us luck with very little time and very limited powers, to be honest. Kasi gawa na yung plano, and we're there just to say affirm, to strengthen, to revise a bit. But please, bear with us, because we were kind of told that we only have this leeway. And we were also told we're not really getting any financial support. So at first we thought we would get per diem, say, for 4 meetings a month maximum. But now it turns out it's only the quarterly meeting at the NI in Malacanang, for which there will be a per diem. So it's really voluntary work. And they said, go back to your stakeholders, to the organizations that nominated you for your support.
Can I shed light
Ria?
on Alvin, apparently it's not called grant. Since the beginning of the enactment of the law, there were no EMs back then. So in other words, in the last 2 years, they now, because it's under the GAA of the NEDA, they put it as a grant. But they are now pushing on going back to the initial intention of the Innovation Fund, and this is a revolving fund. So meaning, we are seeing like funding from the NIC would be more on the pre-commercialization phase, and thus there is a need for the people who receive the it's a loan. It's like a loan, perhaps maybe 0% loan, because it has to go back. That's how we understand it. Last night we have a very lengthy discussion about the Innovation Fund. In other words, in prospectively, whoever received Innovation Fund should bring it back to the government. That's why we have to administer it. However, I understand your point, Alvi, because grants should not be really that competitive, no? Because we really have to be intentional. We have to bring in funds to each of these different types of industries priority areas. And don't worry, we will again lobby on that.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Yeah,
Mario.
Alvin, I just want to piggyback
Yes,
on
Mario.
your comment about the lack of intentionality. A while back, DOST announced more than 9,000 new DOST scholars. These are the incoming freshmen. And so multiply that by 4, that will be more than 36,000, perhaps 40,000. We have actually ideas about how to perhaps better run to scholars program for STEM students, so that a number of them become part of a pipeline going through a more rigorous studies toward a PhD attainment. We actually went to the OST, told them about these new ideas, but we were told also, ginagawa na po namin yan, But so that's the problem. One problem, because we may have similar goals, but the methodology may be different, and we believe that we have innovative, ideas to better develop a pipeline of PhDs and MD PhDs from among fresh graduates of high school, going into college. If only we can tap like 1% of this 9,000 or 36,000 or 40,000 to be in that particular pipeline, we would have the cadre, a human capital, a group of STI students, who will, be the future of our innovation efforts. So wala yan. So Gladys will agree with me. We're together and we're still pushing for this. The thing is, because of our persistence, some cracks are opening up. So some spaces are opening up, and hopefully there will be more opportunities for us to be able to partner with the government, with UST, with CHED, to introduce our innovation in the field of education, STEM education. Thank you. So we're past 10:30. Our local deadline, Alvin, but this has been a very fascinating and enlightening session. We look forward to the other 4 members of the National Innovation Council, and we hope that you will all still be here. I just would like to recognize the names of the other members of the council. I think I have I don't have their names here, but then we hope that by next time we can also talk about some other areas of concern that we have not been able to address today. So some of which are ethics and data privacy. Giselle mentioned AI, Chat GPT, also sustainable development, grassroots involvement with which Dr. Rex Cruz actually mentioned, and of course collaboration between sectors, which everyone mentioned. Of course, Ria talked about this emphatically. So we would like to again revisit all these issues, and hopefully there will be more ideas coming from our participants, from the audience. Alvin, do you have any last a few words before we end the session?
No, I think we have to continue our discussion with them. If they have a quarterly meeting with the NIC, I think our group, let's also have a even more frequent, maybe before their quarterly meeting, let's meet so that we can again get more ideas from, from the general, public or from the different sectors as an input to, as Giselle was mentioning earlier, she would like to generate also ideas from the rest, which they can put forth, in their council. So, yeah, that's it.
Yes, thank you, Alvin.
Yeah.
Mario,
can I just try to summarize this? Yes,
Gladys,
Gladys.
go ahead.
Can I just add some areas of concern about can we add the human capital development, and can we bridge it with the innovation competition that Giselle is suggesting? So we can encourage just starting with this high school students, we can do that. And then from there we can we can bridge that, and then hopefully they will really appreciate that we need a better, we can improve on the existing scholarship program that we have, the DOST SEI. We can add more components by just giving more details to what they are doing right now. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Maybe Mario, in our future FS chats, maybe Giselle, Rex, Pearson, of course, Ria, you can provide us a specific topic or, you want to push, and let's do it first in a chat so that we can generate more ideas and involvement and buy-ins, as you push it at the Innovation Council. Maybe it can help. I don't know. For example, you're going to discuss, you want to go for the human capital development, for example, then let's have a Fireside chat on that. And let's see what more ideas we can distill from our audience, I think. And then you can bring that to your council. But we really are very excited and very, very proud of you all. We know you very well. And this excites actually the scientific community and the entire Filipinos, with your membership to the National Innovation Council, which is chaired by no less than the president, himself. We are all in support of your of this innovation crusade. So we will be with you. Okay.
Yay.
Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to mention the names of the other members of the executive committee of the National Innovation Council. Mark Sultan P. Garsava, the representative for the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector. Monchito P. Ibrahim, representative for the business sector. Earl P. Valencia, representative for the business sector also. And Tirso Ronquillo, a representative from the academic sector. We'll try to invite them, or at least probably two of them, for the next fireside chat. So it will really be, we'll get the full 9 yards. We plan to have a summary of all these suggestions and recommendations, and we will be submitting this to the executive committee of the National Innovation Council. Meron po ba kayong secretariat? Do you have a secretariat?
Yeah.
You have. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we will definitely send this to you. And before we end, let me just advertise our future fireside chats and webinars. We have in August, we will have a fireside chat on chatbots, generative AI, and scholarly manuscripts. World Association of Medical Editors recommendations on chatbots and generative artificial intelligence in relation to scholarly publication, featuring Dr. Jose Florencio Joey F. La Peña Jr., professor of Department of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery, College of Medicine, UP Manila, and he's also the Secretary of World Association of Medical Editors. The moderators here are Dr. Gisela Concepcion and Dr. Billy Cabellon, and sponsored by Direct 11 of PAASE. We have as reactors Dr. Pros Naval from UP College of Engineering, and Mr. Jason R. Albia, a senior manager of the Research and Disruption, Intervened Biosciences, and chief scientist of DARC Labs. In September, we have a fireside chat on the 21st Century Medical Knowledge Center that Dr. Billy Cabellon mentioned a while back, featuring Ms. Carla Garce de Mabildo, the college librarian in charge of the Dr. Florentino B. Herrera Jr. Medical Library, College of Medicine, UP Manila, and with reactor Dean Ria Ubana Apolinario, the UP School of Library and Information Studies, co-moderated by Dr. Joey La Peña and Dr. Billy Cabellon. So maraming salamat po. See you again in our next iteration of the Fireside Chat on the National Innovation Council. And we hope to see you all. We hope that we will continue getting engaged. And please send all our suggestions to the members of that National Innovation Council. Maraming salamat po, and magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Good night from here. Salamat, Alvin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Dr. Canlas, Dr. Cruz.
Thank you,
Salamat po.
Rex and Ria. Thank you so much.
Can we have a
thank you, everyone.
Can we have a photo op?
Okay.
Please let us show all our faces.
Doc Mario, can you stop sharing your screen?
Stop sharing, Apo. Okay.
Okay.
For page 1, 1, 2, 3, smile. Page 2, 1, 2, 3, smile. Page 3 po. 1, 2, 3, smile. Done na po. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gladys. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you again.
See you again.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Alvin.
Thank you, Tita.
Congratulations. Yes.
You have a doctor in your family.